You know, there's a hidden force in your brain that's probably costing you money every single day. And it has nothing to do with how smart you are or how much experience you have. Nope, it's a hardwired survival instinct, one that's totally out of place in our modern financial world. Okay, let's dive in and uncover the biology of loss aversion. So let's start with a pretty simple choice, okay? This is based on a groundbreaking experiment from way back in 1979. Just take a look. Would you choose A, the guaranteed $50, or would you take the coin flip, option B? Now, mathematically, they're the same. But if you're like most people, you probably went for A. You locked in the win. Seems logical, right? All right, now let's flip this whole scenario on its head. Same math, but this time, we're talking about losses. Would you take the guaranteed $50 loss, option A? Or would you rather take the 50-50 shot at losing $100 or losing nothing at all, option B? Go ahead, think about it. This time, almost everyone picks B. We'd rather risk a bigger loss for the chance to avoid any loss at all. And that right there, that's the paradox. When we're looking at a gain, we get cautious, we become risk-averse, we want the sure thing. But the moment we're faced with a loss, we suddenly become risk seekers. We're willing to gamble just to avoid that pain. It's the exact same math, but our brains come to a totally different decision. And that gap, well, that's where all the trouble starts. You see, this isn't just some fun thought experiment. This little mental glitch, it's like an invisible tax on your entire financial life. Let's look at how this plays out in a really common scenario. So imagine you bought a stock at $40 a share, and now it's down to 28. The rational part of your brain might be saying, hey, things have changed, maybe it's time to cut our losses. But another part of your brain is just screaming, no. Why? Because clicking that sell button makes the loss real. It stops being just a number on a screen and becomes a tangible, painful hit to your account. So you hold on. You tell yourself, oh, it'll bounce back, even as it keeps sinking. So why do we do this? Why do we make these choices that seem, well, completely illogical and cost us real money? The answer isn't in some economics textbook. It's in our biology. This is the big discovery from that 1979 study by two guys named Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. They called it prospect theory, and it totally turned economics upside down. And the most important part is this. The psychological pain of losing is literally twice as powerful as the pleasure you get from gaining the exact same amount.
Just look at how lopsided this is. The awful feeling you get from losing $100 is just as intense as the great feeling you get from winning $200. Think about that. It takes double the gain to just break even emotionally with the pain of a loss. Your brain isn't really doing the math here, it's doing a survival calculation.
Let that sink in. It's not just a little more painful, it's 2 times as powerful. And this one single number explains so many of the financial mistakes we all make, from holding on to our losers for way too long to selling our winners way too early. And here's the cool neuroscience behind it. When you're facing a financial loss, your amygdala, that's your brain's ancient threat detector, it just lights up. This is the exact same system that evolved to keep us safe from, actual physical threats. And here's the problem. It can't tell the difference between a bear market and a saber-toothed tiger. It just screams danger, and it short-circuits the rational part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, at the exact moment you need it the most. I absolutely love this analogy because it just makes it so clear. A smoke detector is a vital piece of safety equipment, right? But if you have one that's so sensitive it goes off every single time you make breakfast, well, it's not helpful anymore, is it? It's just a nuisance that makes it impossible to cook. Your loss aversion is basically a financial smoke detector that's way too sensitive for the normal, everyday ups and downs of the market. So let's see how this plays out in a real-world disaster for investors. We don't have to look back very far either. The market crash of 2020 was a perfect and devastating case study. In early 2020, the S&P 500 plunged 34% in just 33 days. It was the fastest bear market in history. Panic was absolutely everywhere. But then, it staged an equally shocking recovery and hit new all-time highs by August of that same year. Just wild. So what did people do during that terrifying freefall? Millions of people sold. And the fascinating part is that it wasn't just new investors. A lot of them were experienced, financially savvy people who understood how markets work. They knew better. But in that moment of pure panic, their amygdalas took charge and they just slammed the sell button. And here's the real cost of that emotional decision. A study by Vanguard found that investors who did absolutely nothing during the crash, they just sat on their hands, outperformed the people who were actively trading by a staggering 6.5% in that 1 year alone. They made more money by simply resisting the urge to act.
Okay, so here's the crucial point. You can't just willpower your way out of loss aversion. It's a feature of your brain, not a bug. The solution isn't to fight your own brain. It's to build systems and guardrails that help your rational mind stay in the driver's seat.
So let's walk through 3 practical, really powerful strategies you can start using to manage this instinct and make much better decisions. First up, write your rules down and do it before a crisis hits. When you're feeling calm and rational, create what's called an investment policy statement. Define the exact specific conditions under which you will sell an investment. Date it, sign it. Then, when the market is plummeting and your emotions are screaming at you, you don't have to make a decision. You just have to follow the rules you already made for yourself. Second, you gotta reframe the question. Don't ask yourself, should I sell this stock that I'm down on? The emotional baggage of that loss makes it almost impossible to answer rationally. Instead, ask this. If I had this amount of money in cash right now, today, would I use it to buy this exact investment at its current price? It's a simple mental trick, but it removes the anchor of your original purchase price and forces you to look at the investment for what it is right now. And third, become a scientist of your own behavior. Seriously, for the next 90 days, just keep a log. Every time you feel that panicky urge to sell, just write down the date, what it is, the price, and the story you're telling yourself about it. After a couple of months, you'll start to see a really clear pattern of what triggers your personal loss aversion. And just seeing that pattern creates this crucial little gap between the feeling and the action. So, after all of that, what's the most important thing to walk away with? All right, let's recap. First, your brain feels losses 2 times more powerfully than gains. That one fact drives most of our major financial mistakes. Second, remember, this isn't a flaw in your brain. It's a feature that was designed for a very different world. And finally, the key isn't to just try harder or have more willpower. It's to build simple, effective systems that let your rational brain actually do its job. And that brings us to the final question for you. You now know that this financial smoke detector in your head is just way too sensitive. So, what's one small, simple guardrail you can put in place for yourself this week? Are you going to write down your selling rules? Maybe start tracking your triggers. Acknowledging the instinct, that's the first step. Building a system to manage it, that's how you win.